I look at it as like you like a cheap therapist. I ain't
Yeah.
I don't pay you a lot of money like the real therapist, but you just the cheaper version, because I can come in here and talk to you about anything, you know what I'm saying? And when I come in, you know, I'm not gonna be feeling the same way when I came in as regards to when I'm leaving, because I know I'm looking better, you know. I can instantly pull out my phone, you know, hey, I ain't looking like a caveman no more. Then, you know, then you also get different perspectives on things, you know. So yeah, that's how I view it as in terms of the barbershop. You just a cheap therapist. I ain't trying to, you know, throw that on cheap, but you know.
No offense.
Your hourly rate is way better. Yeah, it's better on my pocket.
I got you. That's funny. Today I'm blending perspectives with
reporter and media personality, Jaylen Anderson.
We're gonna chop it up about his journey, his impact, and what keeps him going. I'm Thomas, and this is The Blend.
Reporting live in Pike County, reporting live in Fundren and Madison, reporting live at the vet in Vicksburg, in Oxford, in Jackson, Jaylen Anderson, 12 News.
You guys have probably seen Jaylen on the channel several times. We go way back to the college days at Mississippi State. So tell them about the first time I cut your hair.
Man, I remember I was in between barbers, and you know, one of the barbers used to charge me like $40, $50, man. And I think I seen some of your work. I think you were cutting like cute Weatherspoon hair, and I ain't gonna lie, I looked you up and it was like $25 for a house call.
Humble beginnings.
Man, I said, hey, and then that first cut, man, it's just been like history was made ever since then. Cause I remember telling you like, bro, when I make it big, bro, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna put you on salary. You know, I ain't got that yet, but we, you know, we working to get there for real.
Yeah, I just think it's so crazy how far we both come, you know. That was your what year was that? Like your junior year of college, I want to say?
Nah, when you first started cutting my hair, it was like my second year, because I had took like a year off to, you know, financial everything.
Yeah.
Just like that. So that was like my second year. Yeah. But yeah, end of my freshman year, yeah.
Yeah, but just from that point up until now, you know, post-college, us both pursuing our dreams, you know, you in multimedia, and then me, you know, pursuing the whole thing with the Clipper company. I just think it just strives for both of us. It just shows that, you know, keep working after your dreams and you'll achieve whatever you want to achieve.
Stay down and staying humble, man. Really being dedicated to perfecting your craft, man. For real.
Gotcha. So let's talk about haircuts. You know, with you being in the media, it's pretty much standard for you to be clean cut, clean shaven. But then you have big personalities like Cam Newton that has the crazy hair. So what are the standards and how has that progressed over time in the media?
Mostly with men, you know, you want to be clean cut, clean shaven. But with men, it's kind of easier because, you know, we have less things to worry about. You know, as long as the line, you know, straight and everything, your beard is high and tight, you know, tight and even. You know, it's pretty good. It's pretty easy. You know, we don't have to do much for our, you know, look and everything. But more so with the media side, it's more harder for the women, and especially like black women, because, you know, they got many different hairstyles that express everything about them. And, you know, so it's been evolving though. So, you know, it's gonna continue. It's always gonna be like people hate, you know, and that's it kind of.
So I do have a question. I remember, you know, in college, you used to get the swirls, the parts. So what's the difference in between you getting a straight line of part right here on the side of your head versus someone else having slick hair and getting a comb over with a part? Would those be looked at as two totally different haircuts?
In my opinion, I would say no, because they pretty much the same thing, got the same part. It's just pretty much, for me, how a person wears it and the confidence in it. So, you know, when I was getting there, I was young, confident.
Yeah.
You know, you was putting me in the game, so you know.
We tried a lot of different haircuts. You had the Drake heart. I don't know if it's a haircut that you haven't had.
Man,
to be honest. You would try.
I was trying. Hey, look, when you cold, when you doing your thing, you the lowest work with your hands, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, I was trying everything. I was like, shoot, the women gonna love it. You know, as long as the line crispy, I just gotta show up. So I was like, shoot, as long as you don't get your hands cut out, like when you had got your
had to get those stitches in my hand.
Wow, I was so sick. I couldn't do it, bro. So I just, honestly, you know, after you cut my hair the first time, I just wanted to try anything. Like, hey, I was down to it, because I know you're gonna put me in the game. I ain't have to worry. So that's a good thing about like a good barber. When you find somebody you know that's gonna like get you right, you ain't gotta worry about the end game. Like, you used to show me the mirror, I'm like, bro, get that out my face, bro. I don't need that for real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, gotcha. So what made you get into wanting to pursue journalism?
Man, honestly, with journalism, what was crazy, when I first got to college, I wanted to be a historian, because my dad, you know, he loved watching the History Channel, and I was big on history as a younger age, you know, researching on the Civil Rights Movement and World War II.
Right.
And so when I got to College State, you know, I took a history class. There was like 250 people in there. And, you know, I did all the other classes. It's still about a week. I'm like, yeah, I'm chilling. I'm telling my homie, hey, we finna go to the union after this and get some eat.
Right.
See what the girls talking about. We got in the class, like, yeah, I posted the syllabus online. Let's get straight into it. No, so I was like, oh yeah, this ain't the major for me.
Yeah.
And then I always, as a young kid, you know, I wanted to go professional in sports, but you know, I had the realization early, you know, that I wasn't gonna make it. So
yeah.
And I always wanted to be in the sports environment that patterns with, you know, college football, college basketball, and then professional sports with the fan base. I always wanted to stay near it and dear to it and close. Mm-hmm. And so like sports journalism, it was just my way of, you know, staying close to that environment, then also being able to talk about the stories and talk about the games and, you know, different aspects of it.
Okay, gotcha. So we've tried a lot of different hairstyles over the years. What would you say some of your favorites are?
I say honestly, man, the low waves with, you know, the fade on the side.
Undefeated?
Like now I done, you know, matured and everything. So like that look, I don't never miss with it. So it's just like, that's just something I gotta get every time, you know. It's never gonna let me down, you know what I'm saying? When I had my hair grown out, and in my younger years, I was like, okay, it was smooth, but like, it's like that low cut.
Yeah.
You know, the waves popping, you know, sun out, beard. I just can't be it.
Gotcha. So what are we going with today?
You know, gonna get that little drop fade, you know, wave length, get the beard right, make it look full and everything, high and tight. You know, get me right before I get up out of this junk.
Say less, let's go. So are you nervous about finding a new barber in Connecticut?
Man, honestly, that's, in terms of finding the barber, like my list of important things to do when I first get there, of course, finding somewhere to stay.
Right.
And, you know, of course, the church. But I ain't gonna lie, finding a new barber, especially with what I do, that was like one of the most important things. Cause man, like, I don't just let anybody touch my head. Then like, I be precise with it. I be looking in the mirror like, man, my corners gotta be sharp and everything. Cause like, especially with me being on TV, bro, I
leaning, you can't have that on TV.
I can't trust nobody. I need you. I don't care how much money I need to pay you, bro. But I gotta be looking good. I gotta be looking good, especially come to a new city. Don't nobody know me. You know what I'm saying? Everybody here know. You know, hey, that boy gonna stay with a fresh cut. But you know, they don't know me, so I gotta go on. You know, I gotta get it right.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
So what's been your most memorable story you've covered so far?
I would say my first story, where I did it with the Jackson Advocate Black newspaper, where I was at State, and it was about a guy, Howard Bingham. He's a Jackson, Mississippi native, and I got to do a story on him. He had just passed away, and he was a photographer for Muhammad Ali. So having to do that and research about his career and everything and his ties to Jackson, Mississippi, that's gonna always be my most memorable, because that was my first one, and it showed me, you know, that I could, you know, really do the job in terms of journalism. And then also one of my more recent stories I did on, which not even a sports story, it's on Lanier High School, which is a long time historic school here in Jackson. Yeah. The first black school here for African Americans in the city of Jackson, you know, one of the blackest cities in America. Yeah. And just doing that story on them celebrating 100 years of just like black excellence and success, you know, them producing lawyers, doctors, NBA players, you know, professional athletes, just doing that story and, you know, having that community really love that story. Cause I got like 30, 40,000 views on that story on Instagram, just doing that story about my city and that high school just was what it means so much in the city of Jackson. That's one of, I think that's gonna be one of the most memorable stories for me. And terms of that one is my first story.
So would you say that was kind of like your defining moment, like letting you know, like, hey, this is what I'm meant to do for the most part?
Nah, I think one of my defining moments, I was at State and I was fairly new in terms of the journalism world, and I was covering Mississippi State. And I remember, I think it would be a Tuesday or Thursday night. We were on SEC Network, and it was a men's game. I think they played South Carolina. And you know, we did a post-game interview, and I'm talking to, it was Ben Howland, he was the coach at the time. Yeah. And with me, you know, I try to, when I'm out there doing journalism, especially sports journalism, I don't like to ask those watered down.
The cliche, typical stuff, yeah.
Cliche questions like, oh, how did you feel after that timeout? You know, what were you thinking? How do you feel? You just lost by at the last play of the game. I like to, you know, get a little in depth, you know, so people can, you know, kind of learn. And, you know, I asked Coach Allen about one of his sets that he ran later in the game. It was like second half. They ended up winning, and it was a horn set because he ran it like back to back to back and kept running. You know, and I described the play out to him, you know, and after that I followed him out, and then we talked about the play. He wrote it down to me, and he was like, "Hey man, you can't be, you know, telling the play on live television." And,
right.
You know, that was a real good moment for me because when I went back in and I was grabbing my stuff, you know, and a lot of the other journalists was in there. And, one of the guys, he stopped me and he was like, "Man," because, you know, I barely talked to him, you know, it's just a high and by type of situation, but he stopped me and he was like, "Man, you know what I like about you is like, man, when a lot of these guys and a lot of journalists, when they get caught up in, they ask questions, they get asked those simple questions and everything, and you know, you get that simple answer, you know, all that la-di-da stuff about, you know, how the coach felt or how the player felt after like a bad win or a good loss, you know what I'm saying?" He was like, when you ask questions, I always learn something. And that took me a long way. I was like, man, that means I'm actually doing it my way, you know, doing it a little different. And, you know, that's kind of when I knew, like, I can kind of really do this. I could do this, you know, especially when another journalist comes to me and say, "Hey, you know, every time you ask something in the interview, I'm learning something, you know, instead of just hearing the same old, right. I'm learning something about the game or, you know, just about the player, the coach, you know." And so that was like a big moment for me right there.
No, that's amazing. How does storytelling in journalism, how does that differ from storytelling in the barbershop? You know, when you tell stories in the barbershop, it's animated, but obviously in the media, you can't be as raw as you are with, you know, barbershop talk, but how do you still make it entertaining or impactful at the same time?
I think, honestly, for me, I think storytelling in journalism and storytelling in the barbershop, they're pretty much one and the same, because when you think about storytelling in journalism, you're telling the story of, you know, you're telling a fresh new story that a lot of people don't know about, and you're putting your spin on it. Yeah. And, you know, you're trying to get all the facts and everything, but the main thing is you putting that spin on it and making it a story that everybody can relate to, you know what I'm saying? And then in terms of the barbershop, in terms of that, it's the same, because you got stories that barbers been telling for years, and then like look at here in Jackson, it's a lot of barbers or a lot of guys that go in that barbershop, and you know they have that story of Monte Ellis, you know, Mississippi Bullet, him coming in hooping and everything, and they had that story of that one night where he came in. Man, I remember it like it was yesterday. You know, man, me and my boy, we was gonna go to Lanier was playing such and such, and man, I just knew something was gonna go crazy. You know, Monte, he came in, boy, he had 42 at halftime.
And they just knew.
Yeah, and they just knew. So that like storytelling, journalism, and in the barbershop, they go one in hand, because like everybody puts that spin on that story. You know, as journalists, that's what we do. We try to put our spin on, you know, telling different stories.
Especially because in barbershop, you know, people they're gonna exaggerate the story a little bit.
Man,
you know,
for real, bro.
Yeah.
And then especially like, you know, you got all the type of different conversations and everything, so you know they're gonna exaggerate.
But you know, I think that's what, like for example, let's take Stephen A. for example. He's so polarizing because he's so animated, and you know, a lot of the barbershop stories are kind of told in that same tone. It's like
fact.
It may have happened one way, but it's all about how you explain it, you know, that really captivate people. So yeah.
And that's what I love like about barbershop, you know, talks, because like, man, when you think about it, barbershop talks, it's never gonna change, you know, that feel of those talks and those debates and everything, because the world on the outside is gonna change, you know what I'm saying? And you know, the barbershop, we're gonna always talk about different things that's going on in the world, you know, in today's time, especially, you know, things changing from like when I was younger and a kid. But like the barbershop talk, they're gonna always stay the same, because, you know, people are not gonna judge you when you're in a barbershop, you know, regardless of your political views or, you know, what you believe in. The barbershop talk is always gonna be a common ground where people come in and they just debate. So you like, you know, Stephen A., you know, First Take, you get that in every barbershop in the world, because people they're gonna have their Kobe LeBron debate, Kobe MJ, Bron, MJ debates, and that's what I like about the barbershops talk. Regardless of what's going on in the world, those talks are never gonna change because it's so much. It's just a pageantry. And then you got like when I was younger, my dad used to take me to the barbershop. Him and the barber, they talking about their life, and I see you got your boy. You gonna let him play football or basketball, whatever, and then I know. Hopefully, Lord willing, years on later and down the line, I have me a kid and maybe one day you'll cut my hair and you know what I'm saying? You be like, hey, you gonna let them play football or something? Yes. So that's why I say like barbershop talks, it would never change. There's nothing in the world that can make those talks change because it's just a common ground for like, it's something unimaginable. You just can't really explain until you just go see it for yourself.
And even, that's what journalism does too. It evokes those emotions out of people, and you talk about the subject. So yeah,
especially with journalism, because we telling stories that a lot of people don't know about it. It's their first time hearing about them, and so when we're going out there and interviewing people, we like to build that rapport, as we say, that trust factor. Kind of let them people loosen up, really tell their story. Because like when I do a lot of my stories, I don't like to it be mostly focused on me. I want it to be focused on them. Like I put my little sound bites in, but I let their sound bites, my interviews, I let that tell the story.
Yeah, okay. What's a sports story you think more people should know about?
Man, honestly, I don't have like one single story, but I think it's more so about like the history of Black athletes in the sport. Because, a lot of kids, they, if you do your research, you see some stuff about, like, the Negro leagues and everything, but in terms of what the Black athlete means to sports in general, just a whole in America, like, it's different. Like, we really different when it comes to, and we transcend it. So I feel like that's a story a lot of people should know more about in terms of doing their research. Cause like, you look at Jackie Robinson, but you gotta hear about Satchel Paige and all those people, man. And it's just something crazy. Like, I know the MLB, they finally, bringing in those records of the Negro leagues, but like just the Black athlete in general and how we come in and we transcend sports, and it just changed from that day that they let us in to playing sports. Cause when you look at back in the day, all the HBCUs, when Walter Payton was at Jackson State, Steve McNair, Jerry Rice, all of them were going crazy at HBCUs.
So I know you're making a big leap moving to Connecticut, to pursue your goals. So how has that kind of helped shape your career?
Man, honestly, it's helped shape my career a lot because like being here in Mississippi, you kind of get so caught up in, being down south in a small town and everything. And when they reached out to me in Connecticut, it was kind of like, man, I can really, take this to another level because the location-wise, I'm in the middle of like Boston, New York, and then ESPN headquarters is like 20, 30 minutes away. And so when I got offered the job, I was like, man, that means I could really, if I really hone in on my craft.
Yes.
After this 2-year contract, ain't no telling what I'll be doing. I could be making 6 figures if I really lock in on it.
Yeah. So what would you tell somebody that's scared to make that leap?
I don't want to confine myself to just being comfortable. When I was interviewing for it, I was telling them I wanted to be out of my environment. I wanted to have to adapt to a new environment, and learn new things, and not know nobody, and actually have to hone in on my craft, and have to build relationships and everything. So I would tell anybody, just don't be scared. That's the main thing, because you got to take that leap of faith. If you don't have confidence in yourself, it's nothing you can do. You got to have confidence in yourself, and of course the Lord, and trust His work. But if you don't got that confidence in yourself, then that's something you shouldn't be doing.
Okay, gotcha. I feel like I know the answer to this question, but whenever you're not reporting, what do you do to like reset and recharge?
Me, of course, I'm big on like video games. I take that time every day, to hang with my fellas, because we all got different walks of life, different stuff we going on in the world. We get on the game, we hashing it out, having fun, telling crazy jokes. And then also with me, a big thing lately has been the gym and running.
Yeah.
So like when we ran the 5K race, that was a big thing for me, because when I first started and I joined the Royal Club here, my mile time was like 13 minutes, and now I'm like 9-10 minutes. So
yeah,
that's been a big thing in terms of like taking my health and my fitness so serious, because you look at, our parents and the generations before them, they don't take it as serious as us. And you see a lot of young people in today's time, they really taking it serious, want to, you know, live long, because, you know, we only got one life, so you want to feel good in your body. You don't want to just get comfortable with how you look. You want to look in the mirror and if you feel comfortable.
Yeah, and to speak to that, I feel like the barbershop is so much bigger than just, you know, the haircut. You know, we've been locked in for so long, like to your point, you know, running a 5K together, you know, outside of the barbershop, you know, just connecting on different aspects of life. You know, the barbershop is so much deeper than just a haircut.
Yeah, it is, bro. Like, I look at it as like you like a cheap therapist. I ain't
Yeah.
I don't pay you a lot of money like the real therapist, but you just the cheaper version, because I can come in here and talk to you about anything, you know what I'm saying? And when I come in, you know, I'm not gonna be feeling the same way when I came in as regards to when I'm leaving, because I know I'm looking better, you know. I can instantly pull out my phones, you know, hey, I ain't looking like a caveman no more. Then, you know, then you also get different perspectives on things, you know. So yeah, that's how I view it as in terms of the barbershop. You just a cheap therapist. I ain't trying to, you know, throw
No offense taken.
Your hourly rate is way better. It's better on my pocket.
I got you. That's funny. And you know, just to speak to that, you know, we've been locked in for so long, but how they say all good things come to an end, but I think if it's growth, you know, that's a good thing. So, you know, you moving on to the next chapter in your life. I just want to say I'm proud of you, bro. Like, I hope you accomplish everything that you set out to get.
Yeah, but it's not the end, you know. We just putting on pause for real.
Yeah, 100%.
Cause hey man, I ain't gonna lie to you, if them barbers get to messing up, I catch that flight to come down here just to get the cut. You know what I'm saying? I'll be in and out.
Yeah.
You know, I just gonna have to. I'll pay you. I don't care what it is.
Yeah, bro, I need that.
Yeah, I need that. I had to come on a Sunday and, you know, leave that same night just to get the cut. I don't care nothing about it. I'm telling you.
So just to wrap things up, what piece of advice would you give to like young journalists that are trying to break into the industry?
I would say honestly, man, make as many connections as you can. You know, if you see somebody who's in that field, don't be scared to reach out to anybody that's doing the same thing, especially if they look like you, or, you know, they from the same hometown as you. Make as many connections as you can, and don't be scared to, you know, to just post whatever you record. Don't be scared to post it, because, you know, you never know who may be watching or who will give you feedback.
I like that. So when it's all said and done, what do you want your impact on the world to be? I feel like you kind of already touched on it, but I'll just let you just answer it your own way.
I mean, me, honestly, of course, like anybody, you know, I want my name to be remembered forever, but that's never gonna happen. I think I want my impact on the world to be like, I was a loving guy, loving personality, father, husband, you know, brother. I was somebody that whenever they needed help, they could call on me, and they know that I treat them with respect.
Well, Jaylen, I appreciate you coming through, bro, getting the cut and telling your story. And with that being said, we're gonna sign off. That's The Blend, where every cut tells a story. No matter who you are, what you do, or where you come from, when you sit in this chair, we're all the same. We've all got stories that have shaped us. We've all got dreams that drive us. And we're all trying to make our mark on this world. The barbershop has always been a place where perspectives get blended, where cultures connect, and where real conversations happen. Because at the end of the day, we're all just people trying to make an impact and leave behind something that matters.
I'm Jaylen Anderson, reporter, multimedia journalist here at The Blend, and I'm signing out.